So, one of our hosts, Elizabeth, has put together this wonderful sort of guidelines, and I think I'm not quite sure who came up with the idea of having the grandchildren of A.J. Dossett just give short remembrances of 1503 this morning.
We'll give Elizabeth the credit.
Elizabeth gets the credit.
I think Hannah and Bill are in charge of this morning, so they should get at least some.
Well, wonderful idea. And so the idea is that we'll just hear about 5 minutes from each of them, except my father has already told me it's going to be 30 seconds is what all he has. But other than that, and actually Elizabeth has written a wonderful little script. I'm just going to follow it right here. It's entitled Notes for Stanton 3. We are fortunate to have several grandchildren of A.J. and Jenny Dossett with us. These are children of the Big Six. It is fun to think of them playing here as children, maybe even living at 1503 at some point. Perhaps celebrating a significant life event here or making other important memories. Each of these grandchildren, who are now our wisdom leaders, has been asked to share a brief story of only 5 minutes or less. Elizabeth's going to keep us on track with that. We have a timekeeper. Drain's going to sort of kick us off here. Give us those of us that are maybe just visiting here for the first time, and actually those of us who have been around for a long time still need some context about who's who. And so Drain's going to start it off, and then we'll hear a little bit from everyone. So, Drain.
Be careful, you're in the picture there.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth said we get only 5 minutes, but I asked for 6 since I'm having the Big Six, naming them.
And I was merciless.
Well, I haven't even made any notes because I'm so familiar with all of these people, and they were our people. The Big Six were our people, and then all of us 18 were our people. They're my best friends in the world. So I'm going to start at the top with Elizabeth McCullough. She was Elizabeth Dossett. We called her Aunt Libba. Some called her Liv. And she married Leland McCullough. I don't know if Leland had a nickname. Down from there, I would tell you their children, but I might get tangled up. Well, Dossett, Edward. Yes.
I'm curious what your favorite memory of this house is, 1503.
Well, I had a pet rabbit, and one time he got lost. I lived here during the war, and he got lost, and well, I don't know, he ended up in the fireplace in the library. Well, it wasn't lighted.
That's not your favorite.
Is all I could think of. What about my work?
Part of it, I think,
Elizabeth, I'm being called aside from my job. Oh, they're just so many. I mean, I can't. Okay, let me do this. Thank you. All right, Aunt Liv and Uncle Leland, and you know who they had, or do you?
Yes.
You got the list, okay. And then Aunt Didi and Uncle Walter. Walter was called Vovo, which is Portuguese for grandfather, or skipper, or skip. Aunt Didi was called, she was called Didi. Alethea means good deeds, I think.
True.
Good, thank you. And so I think that's where she came up with deeds. People called her deeds, and that went into Dee. So there you have it. So Mama Dee, she was also that, and Vovo were the names that we heard all the time but that's what their grandchildren called them. And then next came Stanton. I'm not sure which. We're not sure. Did Stanton or Monk come first?
Stanton and Stumpy.
Yeah, but which one came first here, Uncle Monk? Monk. Okay. Next came Andrew J. Dossett. He was his J was different from our grandfather's, I think.
I don't think you want to go there. Nobody can decide.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, that's a big help. His name was Monk. Everybody called him Monk. And he was married to the adorable Lorena from White Post, Virginia. And don't forget that part, because that was very important to her. And she was quite a piece. Well, she was. One time she was driving, this will give you a little insight. She was driving down she had a Rolls Royce, and she was driving down the street in Beverly Hills, and she came to a stoplight, and a car pulled up next to her and said, "Are you rich?" And she kept looking down her window and said, "Not as rich as I'd like to be." Uncle Monk had a big, and he was my godfather, he had a big eagle on his chest. He went away to the war and came back. Really, tattoos were sort of borderline then. Never mind about now. And he comes back with this, and he comes in and shows his mother, and she said, "Oh, Andrew, what is that?" He said, "Oh, I thought you'd be thrilled. It's the American eagle or whatever, our
American flag.
no, it's well." That of course you would know.
Oh, the grandson does.
And this guy looks just like his daddy. Yes, he does. I would say that. Okay, now that's have I left anybody out?
Who's been left out?
Okay, then we'll come to Stanton now. He was married to Bess McClendon. She was adorable. He was adorable. His nickname was Stanton. Stumpy, yeah, Stumpy, and I don't know why. It was. And I knew them very well because I spent the 8th grade year in Shreveport at their house, because my school only went through 7 grades. I took 6 and 7 together. It was a very small school. There were just 2 of us in that grade. And so I couldn't go, they didn't want me to, though the Hill School was, we lived at the Hill School, and I couldn't go to the Hill Boys School that young. I couldn't go there at all. I am so sorry.
1 minute warning.
Okay, I was going to boarding school, is where I was headed. I couldn't go to boarding school that early. Okay, Aunt Bess and Uncle Stanton loved to dance. They loved to dance.
Mother loved to dance. Daddy didn't like it.
Yes, I remember
Your
that.
father.
And my father and your mother were quite a pair. Okay, my time is running out. Now we get to, I've just got 2 more. Francis, Frappy. Where is Sarah? Where's Cynthia?
Right next to you.
Okay, well, yeah.
Count it.
Well, that's, Frappy was Francis. Francis was Frappy. People called her Frappy, or Frapp, or mostly Frappy, I'd say. I never heard her called Francis. She was married to Scoop, whose real name was Stanley H. Swift. Stanley Hill Swift, of course. And he was adorable, and they were both fabulous.
Second 1 minute warning.
Last but not least is my mother, Sarah, who was charming, and I'm told that, if I do say so, and she was married to John Gray, John Gray Kendall, who was really charming. And yeah, that's what I heard on every lip. It was said that when Grandmother Dossett got all the children married, she felt a sigh of relief financially, and so she would take Sarah on these wonderful trips to Europe all the time. This family loves to travel. I mean, oh, and Uncle Stumpy was what was he? No, but he took tours for Miss Armstrong. No, right?
Grandmother Dossett just stayed at home as well.
Yeah, oh, really? Okay, I'm sure. Then he also took tours. But I'm digressing. Sarah and John Gray lived in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, where he was at the Hill School as a master. And very sadly, well, I've got one more thing to tell you. All of these men, almost every one of them signed up for the Navy, Army, whatever, when the war started, and you know which war, and they all served with merit. And Uncle Leland had been in the First World War, that's right.
In the Navy,
Uncle Walter. The Army.
Okay.
All right. Well, she can help you out. She can help you out during your time.
Okay, thanks. Train, that was awesome and very close to 5 minutes time. And let's see. So we're going to head to Poozy next.
Oh, well, my family moved into 1503 when I was 2 years old. And I lived here until I married at 20. So I have numerous memories, of course, of 1503. I collected some of them in a little book, which some of you all have. But when my family moved in, we lived downstairs. And Grandmother Dossett lived upstairs. That gave her 4 guest rooms to entertain the out-of-town family that she loved so much. So her children and their families often came in the summers. We were always pleased when our cousins came to visit. Mickey and Sonny were especially excited when the McCulloughs came, because Jane and Leland were their great pals. I was especially excited when the Stanton Dossetts came. Dee and I were the same age, and we were truly soulmates. We had such vivid imaginations, and they were restless until we got a project. And over the summers, we had so many projects. And I'm going to tell you about one. We called it the Great Doll Wedding. Dee had a beautiful doll. It was brought to her by Gusta. Many of you all will remember Gusta. She was such a darling person, and she came to work for Aunt Bess and Uncle Stumpy when Dee was a baby, and she lived with them for the rest of her life. Let's see. She returned to Czechoslovakia one time in the early 30s, and she brought Dee the most beautiful doll. Dee named her Augusta, and actually Betsy Peterson still has Augusta, which is wonderful. About the same time, my parents went to South America, and they brought me back a wonderful doll, a fine doll. He was over 3 feet tall, and he was dressed as a gaucho, and so I named him Gaucho. And so Dee and I decided that Augusta and Gaucho should get married. Oh, we planned a wonderful wedding. It was in front of the stained glass windows on the second landing of the stairway, and I was the preacher, and Dee walked and talked the dolls. And we had a nice little audience, the rest of the relatives staying in the house, and they sat in the upstairs hall overlooking our stage. And our wonderful grandmother Dossett really entered into the spirit of the occasion. She wore the dress that she had worn to Aunt Sarah's wedding. So we had a reception of sorts around the big oak table, which always stood in the middle of the upstairs hall, where we used some of grandmother's little tiny small juice glasses for lemonade, and Marie and Gusta, of course, made wonderful cookies for us. And so we thought the wedding was a great success. And so, oh yes, we wanted to have communion, but Grandmother Dossett told us that she felt that was a little too sacred, so we didn't have communion. But we thought it was a lot of fun, and so as I say, we always loved it when Grandmother had her house parties, and it was such fun to live here. I feel like it was just the most wonderful place to grow up. Let's see, I can't think of anything else except.
Done with 10 seconds.
Wonderful job. Julie, next.
I have a little different story. My story, instead of being growing up here in 1503, I'm going to tell you about when the men came back from the war, and there were 36 of us living in this house for a week, all over Christmas. And then Scoop and Uncle Walter and Uncle Stumpy and my father, Monk, we were all of them were here. And the thing that was great was Uncle John Gray could sing, and his family could sing, and the rest of us couldn't carry a tune. But that didn't matter. We all sang Christmas carols together and had such a good time. And that's the end of my story.
Let's see. Dad, you're going to have to go more than 30 seconds when your time comes. But next is Sarah.
Well, I'll be quick because I only lived here about a year and a half during World War II. And Walter's room was at the top of the stairs with the window into the hall. And next door was Mickey's room. And Mickey was in college, so I was in her room. And one night I heard he was going to have a group of friends over. And I wasn't real sure what was going to happen, but I was going to find out. So I got as close as I could to the keyhole, and they were peroxiding their hair. And I didn't get to see all of it, but I did get to see the outcome, and it was serious. It was really bad. Walter's was really carrot color. And shortly after that, Jane and Jay Lee were married, and Aunt Dee said, "You can't go to the wedding with that hair." So the only way to cover it up in those days was carbon paper. So they used carbon paper to get rid of the orange hair, and he was presentable at the wedding, and they lived happily ever after.
I don't guess we need a timekeeper. They're just blitzing right through it. All right, Dad. Memories of 1503?
2, I think. One was sleeping on that back porch, screen porch up there. There were about 4 double beds, and then some around the corner. And I just remember all of us sleeping out there. There was some I knew and some I didn't. But the thing that I remember the most was the slot machine right there in the hallway closet. And I don't know where we got the nickels to play, but I remember playing them a lot. The only one thing I've got to say about the Big Six, and was that they allowed me to have our wedding earlier than we were planning on it, because when we were ready to get married, I was ready. I said, I want to go now. They said the Big Six were going on this cruise down in the islands, and they said, you can't do that until we get back, and then it'll be Christmas, and you can't do that until after Christmas. I said, no, I'm ready now. And so my father said, well, just meet us down there. And we met them down there in the Virgin Islands, and that's where we were married.
Wonderful. Good job, Pop. More than 30 seconds. All right. Francie.
I'm the baby. Edward should go first.
Well, we had him last. I'm not quite sure why, but I didn't
Okay.
follow the script here. Oh, you're running late. Okay, well here, let's go off script.
Ed?
All right. My mother, Elizabeth was the oldest. And I think this was for Hedonia, but I'm not sure. It may have been the Cotton Palace. But anyway, I had trouble coming up with a lot of memories of 1503, so I went to see Dossett, and he was incredible. Well, Dossett is in a rest home in assisted living, and the last few times I've been to see him, I go in and out in 5 minutes, and he doesn't have much to say. But I started asking him about 1503, and boy, he had a lot to say. And one of the things he said was Christmas 1945, which I think was the time that everybody came back from the service. And Uncle John Gray had written a song about everybody coming from every different direction. And Dossett recited it perfectly. Every word. And then he did O Susanna and recited it completely. But anyway, the things that I remember were the sleeping porch, which Stanton was talking about. We used to sleep out there, and Mother and Daddy always had the charm room when we came, right over here. And Dossett reminded me that they put in the new bathroom for the charm room, they put a little place that you could wash your feet off when you came in off the sleeping porch, so you wouldn't bring dust in. So that was fun. And the other story Dossett told me was that on the sleeping porch one time when everybody was out there, that Poozie was sleeping out there, and somebody came and got in bed with her during the night. Now, I don't know whether Poozie will verify that or not.
In fact, it was Bobby Crossway. So when we started, when we woke up, I think the other person just shot to pieces. He thought he was getting in bed with Stan Smith.
And it was a much better deal. So those are my memories, and it was a great place to come visit.
right, the baby of the bunch, Francie.
And how old are you? 80. So it is. So you're 8 years older than I am. I was trying to remember because we're the youngest. And so I'm the youngest of Grandmother Dossett's grandchildren, and Edward was next. My memories are sort of different because when I was born in 47, my father died in 1951, and then Mom and Drain and Sally and I came. And so I was here often. I was just realizing that part of my memory is how much trouble Sarah and Alethea and I got in just by scheming. That was that was one of my real favorites. 1503 was really a gathering place. So I'm going to talk a little bit not about my memories, but talk about what I know that I think is important for those of you who haven't spent time here to know. It was really it is really, and always has been, a gathering place. And Elizabeth and Stuart have been extraordinarily generous in continuing that. It was, if most weddings happened here, or at least the receptions did, what I remember most, and some of us are teary. I'm so happy you're crying. Right. So when Daddy died, and he came, I don't know if he was in the card room when in his coffin. No. Yes. He was in the drawing room. He was in the drawing room. So, and when Mom died, which was in 69, the night before she was buried, she slept. I mean, she was in her coffin. I guess she was sleeping. And but Uncle Walter and Uncle Monk spent the night in there with her. And I thought about all of the things that 1503 has done for people. That there not only have been births, my mother, of course, was born here, and she weighed so little and Grandma Dossett was, I gather, very sick and near death. And she was born in Cameron. And she was so tiny, she was put in a shoebox in the oven. And that was because they were most worried about Grandmother Dossett, and because she was sick. So that, it feels like it's that kind, there are those kinds of stories where, you don't never know about what has gone on, as we say in North Carolina, probably Texas too, what's happened here. For example, and I think one of the things that I learned in looking at pictures that Elizabeth had put up is that Mama D was very involved in the beginning of Planned Parenthood. And I think some of us think that's fabulous, and others of us might not think it's so fabulous, but it was like the ancestors were doing things that led some of us to getting where we got. Sarah Brooks Shepherd Levine was really the other part of my soul for quite some time, and she was on the board of Planned Parenthood. And so was Drain. And we'll just go right on. So, and so there were those kinds of pieces that showed up in various places and various stories. Now, there are a couple of things I want to tell you that I think if you haven't walked around the house, you should see. One of my personal favorites is the bathtub in the charm room. And Sarah and I frequently swam in it when we were little. And it was plenty big. You really should go look at it. It's a fabulous bathtub. And so it came, we talked, we played, we cried.
and we got to know what was going on. Mom was always a little cautious about coming here because she didn't feel like she was really part of, she wasn't sure that she was part of the family, and she didn't have a husband, which of course meant that she wasn't, there was something the matter. I mean, that was sort of, you know, it wasn't a real family. Wait a minute. And so she was cautious about coming. And so we always had to have really specific invitations. So I got other specific invitations from Sarah and Lethea. It is a remarkable, people from all over the world have come. People who had no idea what houses in Waco, Texas look like. Who was Lance, I think, was telling me that at one point Waco what had more cotton. Elizabeth's gonna know this, I bet.
Just give me the 1 minute warning.
Okay, good. Waco was this place where cotton had more cotton that was going all over the world than any other place in the world. And
Cotton was king.
And that was, yes, there was a cotton palace. I'm so sorry we didn't bring Mom's cotton palace picture. It's really a remarkable place of history and place of friendships and place of family fights, of course. It was not, oh yeah, everybody's always happy, but it did bring us, for Sarah, but close. So it's really a lovely thing to have as part of growing up and to be able to think of very funny times and laugh still. And I'm really grateful that I got my time here. Do I have seconds left?
Okay, you can have seconds.
I don't want seconds. I want to see if I've gotten in under the wire.
It's okay. No, you did not.
Good. Well, there we are.
Wonderful finale there. How lucky are we not only to be able to gather here, but to have these stories. And each of you at some point, I'm sure, will be called upon in the future. So remember your 1503 experience. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. Yep. And thank you so much, Hannah, for doing such a wonderful.
That is not at all what I meant. Dossett and Ed were talking about the family reunion songs. I'm going to sing one of them tonight, but the one that I'm not singing is the Oh Susanna. So I thought I could sing that refrain for you, which is, long live the family, be this our happy cry, we'll reunion with each other till the day that we shall die.
And on that note, Elizabeth, do you have any?
This is called owner's privilege here.
Wait, I'll start it.
I hope you've seen the 1503 trivia sheet that's going around. It asks lots of questions. The final question it asks is in the category of bonus questions, and it asks, what is the purpose of this little nook beside the fireplace? And the truth is, I put that there because we don't know. So if anyone does, I hope he or she will tell me. And then also, I know you've heard that we're doing a photo scavenger hunt. It's not too late to do that if you want to do it. There are instructions of how to do it. There are clues, and you find things around the house and take pictures of them. And the people who have on judges' tags will look at your pictures and decide if you got the right thing. And you have until the end of lunch to show them your pictures, but obviously once you leave 1503, you won't be able to take any more pictures. So, here's...
Can we say thank you to Mike Levine for...
Yes! Oh, and... Mike has provided all of our AV, and that's a great gift. Todd?
This is also where Knox Hall is, for those of y'all who are not familiar. Of course, Barry is right down University Park. For tonight. The Knox Hall is in the back of the Ranger Museum. So if you come in, there's an immediate parking lot in the Ranger Museum and all, but go on around to the right, around back. Hopefully there'll be enough parking. If worse comes to worse, you can park in front, but But anyway, the Knox Hall is on the back side of that building.
And before we quit, please join, oh, sorry.
Family photo.
Yeah.
Right after this.
Oh, there's a trash can in the big hall if you want to go. But before we quit, how about our great MC this morning?
Literally, right now, we're all front. And yes, outside. Out front, we're going to go have the family photo.
You can help me get people
Well, that's right. I think